All right, so we wanted to keep our eye on some of the state and big tech efforts to censor dissident views on Israel and Palestine. And it's an important report about what Meta slash Facebook slash Instagram slash WhatsApp is doing in this regard. Put this up on the screen. This from the New York Times. They say social media users accuse Facebook and Instagram of suppressing pro-Palestinian posts. Thousands of Palestinian supporters say their posts have been suppressed or removed from Facebook and Instagram, even if the messages don't break the platform's rules. Meta, they are claiming, that this was all because of some accidental bug in the company's system. In particular, messages of support for Palestinian civilians who have been displaced, injured, or killed by Israeli airstrikes, those were being hidden from the platforms, according to users. Some people have reported Facebook suppressed accounts that called for peaceful protests in cities around the U.S., including planned sit-ins in the San Francisco Bay Area over the weekend. And the New York Times confirmed that one hashtag, Zionistagram, which was attached to posts critical of Instagram's suppression of pro-Palestinian content, appeared to be temporarily quashed over the weekend. So when you search for that hashtag, according to the Times, no results were returned whatsoever. Users were so frustrated by this that they took to replying in the comment section of Beyonce posts about this, going back and forth because their posts that they were trying to put on the platform were getting quashed and pulled down and suppressed, etc. So you couple this with the report we brought you yesterday about the fact that Meta, who's worked with the Israeli government in the past, took down a Palestinian news network off of their platforms entirely. And I think it is not hard to believe that there has been significant suppression of any sort of pro-Palestinian posts on the platform.
And that's why it's so important. First of all, I mean, in some ways, I wish we would nuke all politics on Instagram just because it's so annoying.
So do
but
they.
I don't believe I don't believe in that. So we're going to have to allow it. even the brother-in-laws get comments on some of these things. And if we're going to have that, then you can't be putting your finger, on the scale in terms of sharing content. And the real issue I had with this was it wasn't people being pro-Hamas. It's just people who are pro-Palestinian statehood.
Right.
And so that is
calling
where—
for peaceful protests.
Right. You cannot conflate the two. And also, we live in the United States of America. People are allowed to say whatever they want, or at least they should be.
Theory.
And so with this, with the suppression, especially behind the scenes, it highlights the most pernicious form of censorship, which is the shadow banning, the suppression, the things where you have to rely on reports which are obvious but which cannot be proven. And look, we all know what's going on behind the scenes. You and I see it every day here on YouTube in terms of what we have to operate with. We've designed our business in such a way. But for ordinary citizens, they have no idea, and they just think oh, I guess that one didn't resonate or something like that, until a critical mass of them come together and they're like, no, actually something actually super weird is going on here.
Yeah.
But then you feel like a crazy person because you'll never be able to prove it.
Yeah, for sure. And, just to make the broader meta point, zooming out from how you feel about this issue, which is a very emotional issue. Number one, free speech only matters when it is tense and when it is controversial.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's number one. Number two, this is the reason why wherever you are in the political spectrum, why you should care about these issues. I mean, you should care about the principle regardless, but, anytime you are challenging a predominant view held by very powerful people, you are likely to have big tech companies, and also we covered overt state censorship, completely banning protests in France and in Germany, which is absolutely insane. But you are, very likely to see that. And if we don't take a stand against it, even when it's on an issue that you disagree with, if it ends up just being partisan and we're only picking and choosing which censorship we care about, we are never going to make any progress on this issue. So that's one piece. There was, we also wanted to bring you, this was kind of extraordinary. So there were hundreds of American Jews who protested in front of the White House yesterday in favor of a ceasefire in Gaza, and 50 of them were arrested. Actually, they were blocking some areas, is what the police were saying. We sent our own producer, Mac, down to this protest. He was able to get some footage. He also ended up being, just shoved by the police. Kind of got
shoved by proxy.
Yes.
Treated badly by the police. Secret Service specifically.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. But let's take a look at, he was able to interview one of the participants about why he's there. Let's take a look at that.
Nico Zeldis Roth, and I'm a member of If Not Now. And so what motivated you guys to come out here today to do this protest?
Speaking for myself personally, what motivated me was a real feeling of urgency that, given what's happening in the Middle East, that there's a real need to prevent mass killing in Gaza, and a real desire to see safety for Jews and Palestinians, the return of hostages being held by Hamas. That's the most important thing for me today.
So what do you think that Israel's response after the Hamas attack should be in the best world?
You know, I'm not here to speak on policy, but what I can say is that from a personal point of view, as someone who has friends and family living in Israel, I deeply want a future of Jewish safety, and I believe that demands peace and security with Palestinians, not further bloodshed and wanton violence.
Is there any other last message you'd like to give to President Biden?
That the urgency of this moment is immense, that the stakes of this moment, as I am sure he well knows, are enormous, and that as Jews and as Americans, for our safety, we want and need a ceasefire implemented right now, and that he ensures the safe return of Israeli hostages.
So you can see the message that they're trying to bring there in front of the White House. Fairly significant show of support here in D.C. Mac was also able to get some footage of the protesters, and he also was recording like a champ as he gets shoved by this cop out of the way. We have that on video. Let's take a look at this.
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
That's what you call a true pro.
Yeah.
You got somebody shoved into you aggressively for literally no reason. I mean, you don't make a sound, you don't protest, you pick up the camera and you keep recording. So props to him.
Absolutely.
That takes a lot of composure for anybody who's ever been in a situation like that.
Absolutely.
It's pretty
that's
terrifying.
incredibly incredibly intense and stressful. And you can just see it's very fraught. I mean, I think that's what really comes out here. And, you know, as I said, there were about 50 protesters who were arrested. As part of that action yesterday, we brought you some of the protests that have been mounted around the world, in Europe, here in the U.S., and also, of course, across the Middle East, which I think is also a really significant part of this story.
I mean, for that protest, and look, once again, like, let's be clear. I'm not saying it reflects majority public opinion. It doesn't even necessarily reflect Jewish opinion. But the only point is to show you not everything is monolith. There are different voices out there, and there were a lot of people out there last night, yesterday, and a lot of them were Jewish, and I think that was one of the main reasons why it was genuinely significant. That area that they were blocking is the staff and press entrance for people who work in the White House, and so, you know, it definitely was, it was heard, I think, by the people there, and that's at least something, and it's different than a lot of what people are going to tell you about how people feel, which is why we wanted to cover it.
Yeah, and Mac is all, he's
he's
all
fine,
good.
by the way. We immediately, for the first thing, we didn't care about the footage. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
are you okay? Like, tell me what's going on. Send us to that. Are you all right? Like, in terms of that, once again, absolute professional. Thank you guys for helping us pay him, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.